Well, folks, thanks again for joining us throughout this entire 3-day extravaganza of cannabis at MJ BizCon 2021. We're here for the final group of folks on our Royal Grown Radio adventure, and I couldn't be more happy. We've been talking about getting these guys together and coming and joining us and having a conversation for almost 2 years, since the very inception of Royal Grown Radio. So we're really happy to be here with the founder of Mammoth Microbes and one of the lead scientists in developing these products, and a good friend of ours, Matt, who's a sales rep and expert on the products and takes it to the people. So Colin and Matt, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us, Royal Grown Radio. It's been a long time coming, and I think this is the first of many. We really like doing this and just talking and doing what we can to engage and share. And we have a level of expertise that is outside of a lot of growers' expertise in microbes and how we think about navigating through from a young company through industries. So there's so much fun experiences that we all live together that we share together. And so this is one of the greatest things to be able to do is just to work together and talk to folks and share our experience. Because
that's what we like to say: engage, educate, and elevate. You know, like bring us all up together. Spread the knowledge of what we do out here. And I definitely plan on all ears on you guys, because I've been always fascinated about your products out there. I love your whole sales team. Your crew are amazing, and I've always wanted to deep dive science on what you guys do. So this is an honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to key off of that. I think one of the most important things that we do is, as a successful company or as just individuals or in a community, we have great things to offer with great people. And you can translate that to a family and how we're being of service in our community and doing our very best. And in the case of a business, and it's absolutely critical, you can have a great product. And there's a lot of great products and technologies that never really meet even near their potential or have any success at all, because it takes a company with great vision to execute and get that out there. And the truth is, a company is no more than a group of people working together on a common vision and a common goal to succeed through that journey. And so hats off to you. I think we all believe that we have great technologies that bring a lot of value to growers. And we all believe in the aspect of surrounding ourselves with great people and having a great team to make that happen, to make a reality.
That is key. It's something we definitely pride ourselves on over at Royal Gold Soils. We definitely just surrounded ourselves with the best people. And you definitely see how that fuels and pushes the entire movement and what you're pushing. You guys have done a fantastic job at that as well. I mean, Mammoth came onto the market, and you guys really exploded very, very quick. I mean, you've taken over so much market share that it's really, really impressive. So hats off to you, right back at you.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate that.
And I want to jump on that because, seriously, Mammoth P is one of the most innovative products in the whole bacterial kind of inoculant line going right now. There's a lot of, focus on mycorrhizae and bacillus and all these other things in the microbe world, and you guys were really the first to push a phosphorus mobilizing bacteria. Is that correct? So tell us about how you stumbled onto the effectiveness of this specific organism and how you managed to characterize it, catalyze it, and get it into a bottle with the Mammoth logo and change the way people cultivate cannabis.
I'll tell you what, a lot of it was just serendipity of trying to do something great and just experience a journey of the direction that life is taking you. And if you have, I think, the right vision and you keep going and moving towards something, life happens to you. My background, if you don't know, I'm a research scientist from Colorado State University. I have a PhD in microbiology. And my whole life as a research scientist in desert arid systems, which I studied for over a decade, understanding the importance of plant microbe interactions and how really challenging climate conditions can impede plant growth and how microbes might support the resilience of plant communities in those types of ecosystems. that for about a decade, plus some of the colleagues that also studied those areas, made us experts in understanding microbes and how they support plant growth. And I thought that's all I was going to do forever. I mean, I love that. That's all I still think about is microbes.
Yeah, right.
And at some point and it was really the very end of 2013, I remember exactly when it was. It was almost the last day of November, and me and my co-founders had this aha moment. We're like, man, why wouldn't we start to try to do something more with our expertise in academia? And it's not just about publishing papers and getting grants, which we were very successful in, and those are the metrics for success. We were very successful in academia, but the bigger picture was, who even cares outside of academia? And the truth is, no one.
Right.
We're trained to think that, honestly, it's a really kind of a broken system, that as scientists, we're making an impact by writing all these papers, and at some point, magically, someone's going to combine all this knowledge and put it together and put it into application. And I really, somehow, looking back, it sounds foolish, but I thought that's the way things worked. And then I realized at some point that's not how things work, that the scientist has the onus to apply that knowledge to bring value to people in their lifetime. And we made that decision early on, and so we started looking for challenges in agriculture in general. And we realized nutrient use efficiency and phosphorus in particular was a real challenge for ecosystems, for environments, for agroecosystems, and for cultivators to maximize nutrient use efficiency, which you hear that a lot. Making sure that all the nutrients that get put into the soil, just generally speaking, get taken up by plants. And what we knew was that microbes did those functionalities.
Right.
And that by itself was our fundamental knowledge. So having that fundamental knowledge, we made the choice to, get a little bit of funding and flip our lab from a basic science lab to an applied science lab and start working on microbes or microbial consortia using simple ecological principles of communities act together, not single species, and that focusing on function of phosphorus solubilizing capabilities of microbes, and then understanding some of the limitations in agriculture, in applied systems. And I went through this really interesting program which actually changed my life. And scientists face this, where we're in the lab and we think our stuff's the greatest stuff on earth, and we don't have any validation because you just fall in love with your own stuff.
Right.
You just do. Everyone does. It's human condition.
Especially around that level, yeah.
Totally. And this program was a $50,000 grant, and it forced you to get out of the lab and into the field from an applied science point of view and do market validation. And so the idea is, Colin, you have this thing that you think is great. You think that you could save the world or improve agriculture management by developing this microbial formula that will liberate phosphorus and micronutrients and nutrient use efficiency, and people will buy this product. And so through simple hypothesis testing, so we kept the scientific process involved in market validation, the idea was to go out and talk to 100 customers that might use this product, might use this technology, and listen to how much value it will bring to them. And so we got real market validation, and I talked to a bunch of different farmers across a lot of different crops to understand at the early stages of the technology development what the challenges would be, how farmers would use and think about our products, and what the value propositions needed to be. And me and my co-founder Matt, we were walking out at the beginning of this, and it's like, we're going to improve soil health, and we're going to be heroes to farmers. And we realized that's not being a hero to a farmer. Being a hero to a farmer is having those attributes, but mostly bringing value to their business by having technologies that really have a return on investment.
Yes.
And if you talk about the top 5 value propositions for most farmers, if you wanted to list the 10 value propositions farmers have to have, the first 8 of those are increased yield, because that's how they get paid.
Yep.
Yield. Now, I say that as a joke.
It's
where
truth,
if
though.
you can't focus on
Absolutely.
the main value proposition that farmers have to have, and your technology doesn't solve that, then your value diminishes.
Absolutely.
And so I think that was the aha moment that allowed me to bridge, just this kind of silo of academic thinking into a broader applied thinking as a pretty technical scientist.
Wow.
And so I understood microbes, understood how to formulate microbes. I patented this formula and this functional trait selection platform where I knew how to select microbes and start off with our story is started off with over 10,000 microbial species that I gathered from nature. I could grow them up, and we have those. I know that like the back of my hand. The idea was to focus on function. And so just like a plant trait selection process, which is pretty interesting, you can have, let's say, 100 different cultivars of the same strain, but you want to train a particular cultivar towards a particular trait. And so for tomatoes, if you have 100 of the same strain, but there's a little inherent variability where one of the plants can grow bigger tomatoes, and your trait of interest is growing bigger tomatoes, you would select that plant that had the biggest tomatoes, repropagate all those seeds into the next generation, and continue the process until you trained that particular cultivar to grow bigger tomatoes.
Yeah, you're essentially pheno hunting at a grand scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so fascinating, man. I love hearing about biology. I've always been a biology nerd when it comes to cannabis cultivation. I know what you're doing. Obviously, you're talking about studying how this is going to affect farmers in general.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you have a connection to the cannabis industry per se at that moment, or when did that light bulb go off where you're like, this is going to be perfect for this industry specifically?
It's actually a part of the journey. What I thought about early on when I started this technology, and we developed this microbial community that was very stable, that was very targeted functionally at cycling phosphorus, and working with a lot of farmers. My ultimate goal was to deliver this technology to developing countries so they could feed their communities more sustainably in light of all the economic challenges and infrastructure challenges that some areas and countries face. What I learned was that that's not a business, that's an impact, and we have to create a sustainable business in order to fulfill that vision. And so as we started engaging, we started learning that agriculture was this huge umbrella, and this sounds crazy, but corn farmers and soy farmers and cabbage farmers and tomato farmers and cannabis farmers couldn't be more different in their application and their practices and their thoughts, and there's some more similarities across some of those conventional crops than others.
Right.
And so we started engaging and understanding the idiosyncrasies and where our technology best fit from an economic point of view, from a management point of view, from a competitive point of view. And being in Colorado back in 2014, talking to everyone we possibly could, and we were very, very fundamental still in our thoughts and understanding of markets. We heard like 3 times in 2 weeks, well, how does it work on cannabis? As you might imagine. And we're like, we don't know, we're trying to feed the world around here. And then taking that data and that scientific process into play, we're like, well, being unbiased and engaging in discovery, we should understand that.
Yeah.
And so I immediately started going to grow shops, started working with people and talking to people about, hey, this is kind of what we do. We're here right around the corner at the university, and just asking even some guys at the grow shops, what do you think about this? And that's where the light started to turn on, because everyone's eyes would get big, and what they were hearing was finally something new. We realized there wasn't that solution in cannabis, and it looked like there was a big need for it. Obviously. Yeah. And so we quickly started working with growers, and at the time you could call dispensaries and the grower would answer.
Right.
That's
the middle days.
Yeah. And I was still a research scientist, so I just pitched my science idea, and they're like, yeah, I want to try some. And so that's how we started getting the product in the hands of growers. I'd go to some grow shops, and everyone was a consultant at the grow shop. Not everyone, but everyone had grows they were working with on the side. And I would just actually bring literally lab jars, unnamed, to say, hey, this is the stuff.
Try it out.
Yeah. And we just wanted that feedback, and that's how it started.
What a cool time, to be there in all things Colorado with legalization, being the first one in the nation, and then here you are doing all this amazing research, and then to find yourselves wrapped up all together. Yeah. And not only now are you not working on feeding the world, but through cannabis, now you're healing the world.
Totally.
Right?
Absolutely. And that was when it all came together. It's like, this might be the most important impact we could ever make. And I grew up in West Texas, where there was, obviously it's still very intolerant across a lot of different topics, including cannabis. my stepbrothers would come in from Illinois every single year, and they were hardcore hippies, 7 and 9 years older than me. And every year they'd leave me with a plant. And, as any proper big brother would be like, they're like, don't you kill this or we'll knock your head in or whatever. And I'd kill these plants every single year. I didn't know what I was doing. And so obviously all our friends and all my friends were on the, in West Texas, there was either a hardcore cowboy side or a hardcore kind of a rock and roll side.
Yeah.
And I grew up, I was in high school in the 80s.
Right.
And I was always on the rock and roll side, and there was a pretty strong cannabis culture.
Sure.
Absolutely a very strong counterculture. And so I always had this in me. And then as I evolved and found my way in life, and eventually I rolled into the science gig. And it's very funny how life comes full circle, and it brings you right back where you started, and it's exactly where I should be. And so it helps me with my success because I've embraced this from the very get-go. It's actually my history, and my roots come from this culture. I know how to grow plants better, to say the very least. I did when I was like 14 years old.
Right.
But it's one of those things where as we established the company, we got some people in the industry, and it was grassroots. It was like, and we knew, and we really stood behind the technology. It's like, try this. If it works, if it doesn't work, we just want feedback. And we felt like if we had the technology at work and we got that proper feedback, we could grow a business around that. And it was that honest and that true, where, we just wanted that return on feedback no matter what. And everyone came back saying, oh, we need more.
Yep.
We have to have this. And that's how we grew our business. And I started the company in March 16th, 2015, when I left the university with absolutely nothing. And I started our first bioproduction facility in a room about like this, and it was a dirty one-car garage in my rental flat at Fort Collins, Colorado.
Nice.
And by August, I'd had my first sale, scaled up commercialization, production, got a team on the ground, went to market, and we had 57 stores that were selling Mammoth P before the end of that first year.
Wow. And I think that comes all for full circle back to the intent. You had clear intent on what you were researching, what you were wanting to understand in the early days. And then I love that you're like, there wasn't a solution. It was just, we're just gathering information, but how do we monetize, apply, and practically elevate this knowledge to a place where people can benefit from it and plants can benefit from it?
Yeah.
And that last little segment has my mind spinning. I've got 1,000 other questions, and I won't get to half of them. But one really huge piece to me is that phosphorus is a major concern for global agriculture.
Totally.
And finding bacterial ways to maximize its effectiveness in commercial cultivation is absolutely imperative, because where is it going to come from? It is a very limited resource. And most people, even in the cultivation community, don't realize this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how does the Mammoth P microbe entourage work in conserving and kind of maximizing the use of that critical element?
Yeah, it's fascinating. That was its intention. That was the impact early on as a very young company. That was the problem we were solving with our technology. But what we realized, as we talked about, is you have to have a sustainable business to make those bigger impacts. And the idiosyncrasies of agriculture, which is so ingrained by the agro-conglomerates, and the channels are completely owned, and the partnerships are egregious in some case, meaning you might take a decade of sacrificing as a young company just to get some traction in that space, with a lot of sacrifice as far as your rights of technologies. What we wanted to do, and we knew what the technology did scientifically, that was sound. We had patented it, we rigorously tested it, we knew exactly what it did. And what we wanted to do was understand as a young company how to work with people, how to work with customers, how to work with growers to grow. And as we get to a more mature company, it allows us the foundation to challenge and get to that next level. And so that's the idea. Agriculture is a beast outside of what we've been able to tackle yet, but the technology is sound, and the company's in a foundational stability where, The company's run really, really well. And I'll tell you, I just surrounded myself with elite people, like this gentleman right here, that's better than me. And my job is to make sure that everyone around me is better than me. And that's something that I did in academia too. And it's a very interesting model. And what you realize, if everyone's better than you, you're surrounding yourself with success.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a primary goal that we have as well.
Totally. It is just one of the most important things. We've recently taken the next step and challenged and starting to bridge our brand and our technology into the home gardening space. Focus is key as a young company, as you know.
Oh, big time.
It's so incredibly challenging to do one thing right. And some companies, as they're young, they have like 10 ideas and they try to do them all, and you find them going nowhere fast, if ever. We wanted to do one thing very, very right, and we're realizing how much more we have to do to be as good as we want to be just in this space. But we're starting to challenge and get outside of that comfort zone. And at some point it might take partners, depending on that endeavor. But we do work scientifically with higher value crops. And that's part of the economic scale too. As a young company, we couldn't make big enough vats to service agriculture. Now we can. We've worked with berry growers and tomato growers, and we see these yield increases and quality increases across the crops.
Right.
And so it's just about getting this manufacturing scale of economy that allows us to service other crops. Cannabis has been a fabulous platform for us as a young company to validate ourselves, to validate what we do and to get better at what we do so we can be sustainable as a young company. And once we've accomplished that, you can build off of that foundation. We talk about structure all the time, and we're working on it.
I love that you're really creating that ultra resilient foundation to really elevate the entire product and concept to the grander scheme of cultivation and worldwide agriculture. I think that that's absolutely fantastic way and methodology of doing it. And we were actually just talking a few minutes ago about the cannabis industry at large being that vetting ground for so many innovative products that are just starting to really completely change the entire agricultural community, because we had that focus in small scale, accurate research, and providing benefit. So Matt, you're out there on the road every day selling this product to people, telling them about how it works, telling them about how it can elevate their gardens. Tell us a little bit about how you relate all of this academia and science that even I have a hard time wrapping my head around sometimes. How do you relate that to the customer, and what new products are you guys bringing into the product line to help elevate all of it?
Yeah, so a little bit of a breakdown, like when I'm out there talking to customers and growers, we've had the pleasure of being on plenty of farm tours together. And when I talk to people about Mammoth P, the thing that they want to know is what it's going to do for them, right?
Yeah.
And so phosphorus solubilizing microbes, just a quick breakdown. Phosphorus is the hardest macro for your plants to uptake. So what these microbes do is they go into that soil, they latch onto that phosphorus, they chelate it into an uptakeable form for the plant. So you're not getting a lot of phosphorus lockout that way. And so that's one of the main key takeaways there, increasing yield. As far as new products go, I've got the Mammoth Silica shirt on.
I noticed.
We're just launching our silica product we're real excited about. Last year we came out with an insecticide, miticide, fungicide called Can Control.
Wow.
Really, really effective product. It's been taken off really well, especially in Northern California for us. We also have a micro product coming out. That one's going to be coming out in the next couple of months along with our starter plugs. So, we're really growing the company pretty quickly right now. And hopefully next year we're going to have 10, 12 products.
So tell me a little bit about the micro product. Is it actually a micronutrient, or is it another bacterial function?
Yeah, so we have two different directions that our company is going from a product portfolio diversity perspective. And the truth is, you talk about the foundation and stability of a company. We spent over 5 years supporting the entire company that was, 50 plus strong on one product, Mammoth P.
Wow.
Yeah.
One product. And you look back and you're like, oh my gosh. And that's risky.
It is.
And it was just where we were. We had a lot of pain in understanding who we were and what we were willing to do. as far as identity crisis. A bunch of microbiologists, well, I think we're a microbial company. Can we be anything else? What we've decided is we're a company that brings value to growers. And we're a company that wants to have sustainable growth and change the way the world grows by bringing value. One of the ways we can bring value is bringing the Mammoth promise of having the most consistent, the most transparent ingredients of any product in any category for growers, so they can use any of our products with precision and confidence in their precision agriculture, because there's no mistake. In our silica product, what you see in that label is exactly what you get. In our micronutrients, as an example, I've always liked micronutrients because those are the little idiosyncrasies that I think in a lot of organic or in soil grows, you get that difference. Many of these trace metals and these micronutrients are things that act as coenzymes or cofactors that facilitate more photosynthesis or more regulation for a quality perspective. And if it's missing, or if it's unknown how much is in there, you might be limiting your plant's phenotypic potential from a nutritional point of view. Yeah. And so it's just one of these things where it's a very cool product that we want to implement. Silica is another one where it's just a key category, and we want to have a Mammoth solution for a lot of categories, because we think that we can bring value with our brand because of what our brand represents, but also to have options and stay relevant.